Evaluating running backs can be difficult. Unlike quarterbacks and wide receivers, who can have long careers, running backs have the shortest career on average, and as a result, they have even shorter primes. A wide receiver with 3 very good seasons may not have made the wideout list, but a back with 3 very good seasons could make the list. You also must consider how the game has evolved. It's a passing league now, so many running backs don't get enough opportunity to even shine, and some have replaced what they can do on the ground with what they can do as a receiver. Today we are going to be talking about the top 10 running backs of the 2010s. Before we start, I want to give a shout out to a few players who just missed the list. Mark Ingram was the feature back in New Orleans before Alvin Kamara, and earned 3 Pro Bowls in the decade. DeMarco Murray's 2014 season almost landed him on this list, and his time with the Titans was underrated. LeGarrette Blount's hard-nosed running never earned him a Pro Bowl or All-Pro nod in the decade, but it did lead him to having 3 titles, so I guess that's cool. Now, on to the list. Number 10, Frank Gore. Frank Gore is the Toyota Corolla of halfbacks. Nothing special with a few good years. However, the longevity and reliability is what sets them apart from a lot of cars, and, in Gore's case, a lot of players. To Frank's credit, he was a big part of those early 2010s 49ers squads that went to 3 straight conference championship games, and a Super Bowl loss. He snagged 3 Pro Bowls in the decade for his efforts. For most players, they would retire or start to wind down after 29, but Gore continued to be consistently good, giving decent outputs. It was a running joke that Frank Gore played for so long that he remembered playing for Bill Walsh, and that he was the first football player ever. His production never truly fell off a cliff in his 30s, and that's due to his superior conditioning. Gore would end the decade as the NFL's all-time 3rd leading rusher, surpassing Barry Sanders. Not bad for a guy who had bad knees coming out of college. Number 9, Alvin Kamara. Kamara's rushing totals will not pop out when comparing him to other backs on this list, and even backs not on the list. What makes Kamara valuable is his ability to catch the football. Kamara easily gets you 800 yards rushing and 800 yards receiving for a season. He was drafted in the 3rd round of the 2017 draft to be a complement to Ingram and his eventual replacement. All Alvin did in his rookie year was earn a Pro Bowl nod and Rookie of the Year honors. If he continues to be such a dual threat in his career, I can easily see him breaking the most receiving yards by a running back, currently held by Marshall Faulk. Arian Foster seems to be forgotten these days. Not surprising for a player whose best years were on some decent but not great Houston Texans teams. Had he declared for the draft after his junior year at Tennessee, he would have been selected in the 2nd round most likely. But after being persuaded to stay for his senior year, and after having a subpar season, Foster would go undrafted. Foster showed everyone in his 2nd season why the scouts were wrong, earning his first Pro Bowl nod and his only All-Pro selection of his career. He followed that season up by being selected for the Pro Bowl 3 out of the next 4 seasons. His contributions helped give the Texans organization their first winning season. Unfortunately, like many others, injuries began piling up for Foster in his late 20s, and he would retire at age 30. Foster holds almost every meaningful rushing record for the Texans. Number 7, Ezekiel Elliott. Elliott probably had the best rookie season out of everybody on this list. In 2016, he led the league in rushing attempts and yards and would have won Rookie of the Year honors had it not been for his teammate. Zeke came into the league as an already disliked player, mainly because he played for Ohio State, the Ohio State, and it didn't help matters when he was picked by Jerry Jones. I always thought Zeke was good, and I legit thought the Cowboys were going to at least make the Super Bowl in 2016, but thanks to this catch, that didn't happen. Zeke led the league in rushing yards per game for 3 straight seasons, telling everyone that he was the best, or at least held a claim to the best back of the late 2010s. Number 6, Todd Gurley. Gurley and Zeke were neck and neck when it came to this list. Both men won Rookie of the Year. Both men were nightmares for opposing defenses, but I had to give the edge to Gurley because he earned one more All-Pro and was a major reason why that 2018 Rams squad went to the Super Bowl. The other being this non-call. Gurley had an injury question coming out of Georgia. A torn ACL would be enough to drop any running back to the later rounds, but the Rams had faith Gurley would bounce back and contribute. He repaid the organization with some of the best football a back had played in the decade. Gurley, unfortunately, was held in check in the 2018 NFC Championship game and in Super Bowl 53, where the Rams' high-powered offense could only muster 3 points. 2019 would be a year of constant nagging injuries, and the following offseason, Gurley was released. It's disheartening how fast Gurley fell off, but this is the NFL, and life comes at you fast in this league. Number 5, Jamaal Charles. You'd be hard-pressed to find many better players than Jamaal Charles in the early 2010s. The man started the decade by grabbing Pro Bowl and All-Pro honors. In 2011, Charles would tear his ACL in Week 2 and miss the rest of the season. He would bounce back in 2012 and have an All-Pro caliber season, rushing for over 1,500 yards. His comeback season would have been better remembered had it not been for another running back on this list, and Peyton Manning. 2013 saw Charles grab his third Pro Bowl and All-Pro nod, proving to everyone that the previous season was not a fluke. He was a big reason why the Chiefs started 9-0 before stumbling their way to the finish line and flaming out in the wild card round. Charles would never be the same after the 2014 season and would have a few more subpar years in the league before retiring. Number 4, Marshawn Lynch. 2 words: beast mode. You could not stop this man in a short yardage situation, unless of course you didn't give him the ball. Lynch didn't do much talking to the media, but his on-the-field performance and off-the-field personality did more to tell the story of Marshawn Lynch than any reporter could do justice. Marshawn is one of 2 players on this list that have been to multiple Super Bowls and win at least a Lombardi trophy. While the Legion of Boom controlled the skies, Lynch would dominate the ground, absolutely punishing any player who dared tackle him. He started the decade off as a member of the Buffalo Bills, but was traded to Seattle early in the 2010 season. That postseason, the 7-9 Seahawks would upset the defending Super Bowl champion New Orleans Saints, with Lynch showcasing his skills by running over almost every Saints player in a highlight simply known as Beastquake. The touchdown run would seal the deal and give Seattle the playoff win. After his time in the Northeast, Lynch would play 2 respectable seasons in Oakland before a failed Seattle return that did nothing but sell some tickets. I really think Marshawn Lynch has the resume to be in Canton one day. Hopefully, the voters think so too. Number 3, Le'Veon Bell. The best receiving back in the 2010s. Period. Le'Veon Bell's holdout and contract disputes has kind of overshadowed his ability as a player. He was a can-do-all, versatile back and was 1/3 of the Killer Bee offense. Sure, some of his antics off the field were a distraction, but overall, he was a steady contributor come game time. Drafted to be the premier back for the Steelers, Bell took that responsibility to heart, earning Pro Bowl and All-Pro honors in his second season. In the decade, he would have 3 seasons of at least 75 catches. Now, you have to give credit to the quarterback for some of those and, of course, the system Bell played in, but most backs wouldn't produce like Bell if given the same circumstances. He kept the defenses honest, very honest, while Big Ben and Brown dissected secondaries. Bell would sit out the entire 2018 season due to contract disputes. He felt that he should be paid higher than any other back in the league, a statement that was not far-fetched. The Steelers played hardball, and we missed out on what would surely have been a great season. Bell would get his money from the New York Jets. However, in 2019, he would instantly become average, and I mean that in a generous way. Poor Jets fans. Number 2, Adrian Peterson. Before I even did research on this video, I just knew in my heart of hearts Adrian Peterson would be number 1 on this list. I was wrong. However, being number 2 is still a massive accomplishment. The only MVP on this list, it was hard not giving Peterson the top spot. Starting the decade, Peterson was coming off of 3 straight Pro Bowl appearances and 2 straight All-Pro selections. He looked destined to continue that dominance after a stellar 2010 season. In 2011, Peterson would tear his ACL against Washington on the most cursed football field of all time. At that time, many thought while Peterson might recover from such an injury, he would never be the same halfback he was prior to the injury. They were right. He was better. After just 9 months from his injury, AP was back in action. He showed everyone his Hall of Fame talent by rushing for over 2,000 yards and coming just 9 yards short from the rushing record. His efforts would win him the MVP. Peterson would continue to be a top 3 back until the mid-2010s, and even after that, he was still a solid contributor for his team. Number 1, LeSean McCoy. So, here we are at the end of the list. Why did I put Shady McCoy at 1? Because he had the most rushing yards, the most combined touchdowns, and the most Pro Bowls in the 2010s. After a 1,000 rushing yard and 78 reception season in 2010, McCoy would follow that up with snagging his first All-Pro and Pro Bowl honors in 2011, rushing for over 1,300 yards and leading the league in rushing touchdowns. The Eagles would never reach the true potential that some thought they could in the early 2010s. Underwhelming quarterback play and lackluster coaching were to blame. McCoy would be traded to Buffalo for linebacker Kiko Alonso in 2015. Shady would say that Chip Kelly got rid of all the good black players and that he didn't respect the stars. McCoy would continue to shine as he was one of the few threats on a not-so-good Buffalo team. After the 2018 season, he was signed with the Chiefs and helped boost their rushing attack. He would finish that year with less than 500 rushing yards, but he did hold up the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the year. Anyway, that's the list. Thank you for watching. Bye.